What's up, everyone? This is DyanaRozay. Welcome to my channel. You saw the thumbnail, you know exactly why you're here. I bring a unique commentary to your favorite reality TV shows and whatever is popping on social media. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and that notification bell. Also, guys, I appreciate every single one of you for rocking with me. Also, you guys, don't forget to follow me on Facebook. It's a private group called DyanaRozay Real Talk. You'll have to answer some questions and then you'll be let in there. And also follow me on IG at DyanaRozay. Now let's get started. So the first scene is Tisha and Marceau. Tisha is at home and she is taping boxes. They are moving from their house into an apartment. Then we get this black and white scene of Tisha and Marceau standing on the ground that is supposed to be their new dream home. But Marceau said it's going to take about 2 or 3 years before it even gets built. Okay? Womp womp. Now what's weird about this is they're moving out of their current house to do renovations while building a brand new house and then also paying rent on an apartment with 3 children. Considering how tight Marceau has proven himself to be with money on this show, paying for a new build plus paying for renovations and an apartment doesn't add up at all. Not to mention, Scott 1.0 still has some legal trouble. Allegedly, they have a lien on the property where the new house is being built, and Scott still has that $5 million lawsuit against them for the hotel they built out. But despite all that, Marceau still had time to bring Tisha the latest gossip on Tiffany and Sheree. So Marceau asked Tisha, why didn't she tell him that Tiffany doesn't have it all, as in common sense? And then he lets Tisha know that he had an interesting conversation with Tiffany where she proudly shared that she had asked Sheree what was it like dating a cheater, aka Martell, and also, is your poom poom good enough to keep him? Marceau said that he was appalled that Tiffany would have the audacity to ask Sheree those questions, as if Marceau isn't all about having audacity. That's all he does all day, all night. But when he asked Tiffany, who the hell do you think you are asking those questions? He said that Tiffany looked him into the window of his soul and said, I like blended families. Now, I did listen to the recap tonight, and I also listened to some other interviews where they talked about Tiffany. And they said that Tiffany's personality is pretty much on par for what we see in season 6. So you guys, let me know what y'all think about it in the comments and let's get into the next scene. So Tiffany tells her husband that Marceau and Martell came at her wrong. She said that she was supposed to meet Martell for a business meeting, but the 2 men ended up ganging up on her about a conversation that she had with Sheree. And Louis was not cool with that at all. He literally said, I'm going to catch up with him, and when I do, I'm going to give him everything they gave you, basically. Which is exactly what would happen in real life. So next scene is Kimmy and Maurice. So they're coming back from the doctors, and Kimmy said she's been green-lighted to move forward with radiation. They also talked about the hair on her eyebrows growing back and some other places. And Kimmy shared that hair has always been very important for her, so losing it has made her feel really unattractive and insecure. And she shared that coupled with the fact that chemo killed her sex drive, she said that she really doesn't have anything to give to Maurice. And that the times they have been intimate, she's faked it. Now, I was actually shocked to hear that Kimmy was still being intimate, with everything else going on. But in confessional, Maurice said that he still thinks about it, even with the cancer. He said he thinks about it several times a day. But in the car ride, he told Kimmy, I don't worry about that. All I'm worried about is you getting better. Kimmy said, listen, she said, you can kill that noise because when I was fine and healthy, you complained that you weren't getting enough from me. So now that I am down and sick, I know you have a problem. And I know that this is a real life conversation that people who are struggling with illness have. However, nothing really got resolved here. So did Kimmy give Maurice a pass to do what he allegedly already do? Y'all let me know. So in her cancer journey, we learned that she still cooks, cleans, serves her man, and takes care of kids. Then Kimmy met with a friend of hers and they explored the topic of feeling unpretty and having a low sex drive a little further. And that's basically how it ends. Next, we have Tiffany and Louis's baby shower, and the entire cast is there. Melody arrives a little bit late though, so Everyone else is sitting at the table. They are eating, laughing, and of course, they are all still talking about Tiffany and Sheree. So when Melody arrives, she takes a few photos with Tiffany and then she heads over to the table to sit with the rest of the cast, who decide to stop talking in that moment about Tiffany and Sheree and Martell and whomever else. Nell Fletcher actually announced that she thought it would be uncomfortable for Melody to continue the conversation, but Tisha said, why don't we just ask her? Mel responded, y'all ain't gonna make me uncomfortable about anything, and that's when Tisha dives into the conversation. But it was Nell who told the table that Tiffany asked Sheree if her poom poom was gonna keep Martell, only she said the real word, the one that goes in front of cat, okay? And Nell's husband, Chris, was absolutely appalled. He grabbed her arm and was like, vagina, what are you doing? But he was really trying not to get caught by the camera, but they definitely caught just a little bit. Anyway, Tisha was giggling and Melody started looking around the table like everybody had snouts for noses and beaks for lips. Then she politely said, I guess I'll go get some food now. She went to get her plate and she put her fingers up and said, I know when to say deuces. Now, right before OWN started airing season 6, Melody actually said this was the most pleasant filming season she ever had because she knew when to walk away. She said nothing was going to keep me in that seat. I got up and I left every time. This is her second time leaving a scene. The first time was at the spa date. Y'all remember? Anyway, I think Melody was going to hang out for a little while longer at Tiffany's baby shower, but then Martell walked in and she was like, I'm done. That's when she left the party altogether. So then Martell asked for a sidebar with Lewis so they can rehash the party and what Tiffany said, of course. And then he asked for Marceau and Maurice to go with him. And this scene was just a little bit off to me because Lewis was doing just a little too much reasoning with the fellas. With situations like this, there's no room for questions and answers. You get them fellas outside, you tell them what you heard, you tell them what you expect, and you tell them what happens if they don't follow the rules. That's it. But at one point, it did get heated enough for Lewis to take his finger and start poking it at Martell's shoulder. That's when Maurice's eyes bucked open like, what is going on here? And they cut in front of it. But truthfully, I don't think anything was going to happen. And Martell didn't even buck. He looked down at Lewis's hand and like swiped it away like a fly. Oh, and Marceau asked Lewis an obnoxious question. He said, is Tiffany a Karen? And I agree with Dustin from the recap on this. Marceau would know because he's a Karen. Anyway, the scene ends with them shaking hands and moving on, if that tells you anything. But when Lewis gets back inside, he realizes that Tiffany is having a crisis. She is sitting in a chair. She's uncomfortable. She's crying. When he asked her what was wrong, she held his head and whispered something. You could barely hear it, but she said that she was dizzy and that she was in pain. And that's pretty much how the scene ends. They turned the lights out for her. But in the previews for next week, we hear Kimmy say, are we not allowed to call an ambulance? And then we see Lou in his truck driving off pretty fast down the street. So it looks like he was trying to take her out of there to the hospital. But anyways, hopefully we're done with this Tiffany and Sheree conversation because they have run it into the ground and there is nothing left to give, okay? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and I will check you all on the next one.